Starting off this list at number 10, we have Amanda Bynes. The actress that starred in classic teen movies like Easy A, She's the Man, and Hairspray quit acting at the young age of 24. The decision to quit acting actually came from her personal struggle with her appearance. Amanda did not enjoy watching herself on the big screen and decided to quit acting altogether because of it. After appearing in the film Easy A, her role was met with raves of positive reviews, yet this was the moment that Amanda decided she was going to quit for good. The former actress states that watching herself in that film changed her perception on things of herself and ultimately led to the decision to retire. That being said, the actress is still hopeful for the future of beginning to start acting again after her decade-long hiatus. However, we have also seen a lot of things in the news, obviously with the law, her mental health, so we really won't know. I hope she comes back. She's honestly one of my all-time favorites. Yes. That's all. I'm just excited because I hope she comes back one day. Moving on to our 9th spot, we have the infamous John Travolta. John was one of Hollywood's biggest stars back in the day, but we haven't seen him star in any films recently. Let's be honest. The actor seemed to have faded out after some roles that didn't get the public's attention. The now retired actor pronounced his time in Hollywood is over after his wife lost her battle to cancer. John stated that he would be taking time off for his children and to properly grieve, as he should. And a single dad now, Travolta decided to dedicate his time to raising and supporting his kids and left the spotlight to fill this role, and I give him full props for doing that. He had a very long, successful career, guys. How old is he now anyway? I feel like he's up there, no? I'm not trying to call him old, but like, he's had a long career. Filling the 8th role on this list is Cameron Diaz. In the early 2000s, Cameron's career was at its peak. She helped anchor franchises like Charlie's Angels and Shrek, while simultaneously featuring in some of the biggest films at the time. Honestly, during that time, she was appearing in every single movie. Like, she was everywhere. She ended up starring in films that were flops in the box office, and the actress hasn't been able to find a remarkable role in a while. Let's be honest. Her 25-year-long acting career came to a close when she officially stated that she will be retiring from the big screen, which was very disappointing for fans like me. She ultimately made the decision because she wanted to focus more on herself, because when acting, she was unable to dedicate that kind of time to herself. Also, if you want a life update, she's now a mom. She's also married, and she has her own wine that just came out recently. I saw it online. So she's still doing things, just off the screen. Swiping through the ranks, we get to our 7th spot with well-known actor and comedian Adam Sandler. The actor, who is famously known for his funny guy persona, hence the comedian part, has claimed to be one of the most overpaid actors. Adam used to be a comedic leading man in many movie hits, but with time, everyone seemed to just be done with him in movies, I feel. His more recent films have been claimed by critics to be historically terrible, which definitely has not helped his acting career by any means. Over time, Adam's fans seem to grow up and out of finding his type of comedy funny. The actor's roles were seen as very repetitive, and he hasn't stepped out of his comfort zone when it comes to picking new roles. Additionally, his hate for the press, social media, and interviews has also kept his name out of the spotlight, which definitely didn't help his career in acting. With Adam's comedy being overdone, not seeing him in fresh roles, and Adam's name out of the media, it ultimately led to the downfall of his acting career. With 55 years of acting under his belt, Adam decided to retire for good. This comes from Adam stating himself that he doesn't find being an actor fun anymore. Although, let's be honest, his movie roles were very repetitive. Continuing down the list, number 6, we have Brendan Fraser. Like most celebrities on this list, Brendan's career skyrocketed in the early 2000s, and he found himself as a major leading man in many films. That being said, his roles would slowly decline, and several films that he would star in would miss the mark in Hollywood. Additionally, he was faced with time out of the spotlight to recover from multiple surgeries due to him getting hurt while working on set and doing his own stunts. insurance. This recovery would cover a 7-year period, causing the roles for him to be able to take to be very limited. The actor would also later reveal that while working, he was assaulted, and this incident would deeply affect the actor. And in the end, this incident was the deciding factor for the actor to retire from acting for good and give up his very high-profile lifestyle. Halfway through, we have Mike Myers. The actor and comedian has starred in numerous top films including Austin Powers, Wayne World, and the Shrek franchise. The star's rise to fame came from his involvement in Saturday Night Live and seemingly continued going upwards from there. Though former colleagues of Myers have come forward to say that he was a diva on set and a nightmare to work with. This type of temperamental behavior definitely did not help his case as the leading man in Hollywood, but it definitely was not the only factor that influenced his acting decline. Myers would be featured in multiple films that were wildly unsuccessful, not to mention the lawsuits against him from Universal Studios against citing issues with his script. From there, Mike Myers' place in Hollywood has seemed to come to a close for the multiple issues of citing, being a diva on set, and just not taking on the right roles. He's had some, flops, movie flops. I forget the last one I'm thinking of. It was a romantic comedy. The Guru one, yes. Yeah, that bombed. Big time. Taking the number 4 spot is notorious actress Katherine Heigl. The actress used to be sought after and filled many major movie roles, but those times have ended. This is because many who have worked directly with Katherine have claimed that she is a nightmare to deal with on set. She would apparently always have wardrobe issues, wouldn't get out of the trailer, questioned her script, and ultimately would cost extra time every single day of shooting for how difficult she was. Some even confessed that she was so rude to them that she would swear at the people working alongside her and cause drama on set. Additionally, she slammed her role in Grey's Anatomy for not liking the writing and wanted out of her contract. After her reputation turned sour, Katherine tried desperately to return to Grey's Anatomy but was turned down by the showrunners for how rude she was, and they weren't gonna put up with it, basically. Katherine's reputation took a turn for the worst, and despite her talent for acting, Hollywood will not consider her for any big roles anymore for her unwanted behavior. Getting to our 3rd spot, we have the teenage heartthrob Taylor Lautner. Taylor sought instant stardom for his role in the Twilight franchise, as the Twilight series was a global phenomenon that turned all of its actors into major stars. Throughout the years that the Twilight series would continue, Lautner was kept afloat in Hollywood because of the movie. Though once the series was over, the actor had a difficult time finding a place in the industry. In an interview, the actor stated that he felt restricted after the Twilight series and wanted to try something new. Though he felt his acting abilities were defined by Twilight and would never be able to move past it. And Taylor would eventually be unable to find his name in any other successful films and would turn to TV roles to fulfill his acting career. Honestly, I literally have not seen him since Twilight, and then he did that romantic comedy with Taylor Swift, really weird. I haven't seen him in anything. Maybe I don't watch enough TV though. You guys tell me. Is he on TV? Moving up the rankings, number 2, we have Shia LaBeouf. Now this one's kind of a debate, because some people think he'll make a comeback and some people think he won't. Let's dig into it though. The promising young actor seemed to be just getting his foot in the door with acting after moving from a Disney star to fulfill his leading role in the Transformers series. Though after years in the spotlight, the actor's ego began to get the better of him when his off-screen behaviors became a liability, as Shia would also be known in the industry to be difficult to work with and would occasionally be considered off-putting by his colleagues, not to mention all the legal issues. As well, during this time, the actor's name would be all over controversial headlines for inflicting emotional distress, assault, dangerously driving, and animal cruelty, not to mention the multiple sexual offenses that he would be sued for. This was more recently. This shocking behavior would not go unnoticed in the industry, as he would find it a lot harder to secure roles these days. The Transformers franchise would even go so far to replace him and his leading roles in the series. Eventually though, everyone at this point in time has basically blacklisted him from Hollywood, so I'm interested to see if he's gonna be welcomed back. And finally, taking our number 1 spot is Tobey Maguire. The actor is best known for his iconic portrayal in the original Spider-Man films, but we haven't seen him prosper afterwards despite the success of the Spider-Man movies. With the final film in the Spider-Man trilogy being considered lackluster and the worst film out of all of them, this did not set up Tobey Maguire to succeed. Therefore, Tobey would have a difficult time finding roles after the Spider-Man franchise. It also didn't help help that he was notorious for being picky when it came to his roles. The actor has confessed that he is very selective when it comes to the roles he takes on and has trouble finding projects that he actually wants to work on. Also, Tobey is known for having issues on set with multiple co-stars, including James Franco, who could never see eye to eye with him. Over the years of not being able to find success in acting, Tobey would move towards producing instead. This move towards producing instead of acting seemed like a good idea because Tobey was known for his introverted personality and struggle in the spotlight. But his producing career fell short, with his projects not succeeding in the box office. With Tobey's acting career being at its height during the Spider-Man era and not being able to succeed outside of this franchise, the reboot starring Andrew Garfield and now Tom Holland meant the end of his career in many ways.
At number 10, Chris D'Elia. Comedian Chris D'Elia isn't looking too favorable in Hollywood's eyes following the allegations against him. Reports came out last year detailing a number of encounters that Chris had with girls under the age of 18. When these encounters came to light, as a result, backlash and scandal ensued, which resulted in Chris losing a lot of work. First, Chris's comedy show on Netflix was cancelled, and an episode of the Hulu show Workaholics that featured Chris as an inappropriate character was also pulled from the streaming service. What has probably hurt his career most, however, is being dropped by his agency. Reports came out that Chris was no longer being represented by the Creative Arts Agency, and he's also been dropped by his manager, 3 Arts Entertainment, and his comedy booking agent as well. Now, even if Chris were able to get someone to represent him in the industry, the fact that he's already been dropped by Netflix once leads you to believe that they probably wouldn't be open to working with him again in the future. So I think it's safe to say that your career is pretty much in the can. At number 9, Shia LaBeouf. Late last year, actor Shia LaBeouf faced severe allegations after his ex-girlfriend FKA Twigs filed a lawsuit against him detailing some of the encounters that she had with him. Twigs alleged that he threatened to crash a car with her in it if she didn't profess her love for him, and claimed that he would sometimes grab her so hard that she would bruise. Even singer Sia came forward with her own allegations against the actor, saying that she too had been emotionally hurt by Shia after he tricked her into an adulterous relationship. Now on top of that, we've learned that Shia has also been losing work because of his bad attitude after allegedly being fired by Olivia Wilde from the film Don't Worry Darling. It was announced in late fall last year that Harry Styles was going to be replacing Shia in the film, and now we know that it was due to his alleged bad behavior, as people cited that Shia is, quote, not an easy guy to work with. And with all of this bad press piled up against him, as well as his bad reputation for being hard to work with, I'm sure that Netflix would not want to work with this actor. Now, before I carry on with our list, why not take a moment to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and while you're at it, maybe hit that subscribe button as well to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Armie Hammer. 2021 started off with an absolutely huge Hollywood scandal. The first big entertainment news story of the year followed the downfall of actor Armie Hammer after a series of DMs were leaked that exposed his life behind closed doors. An Instagram account exposed Armie after they posted dozens of screenshots that showed the actor's conversations with various women between 2016 and 2020. The messages show Armie talking about his bedroom fantasies, including fantasies of consensual non-consent and eating his partner. As a result of this scandal, Armie's career took a serious nosedive. When the scandal first broke, Armie withdrew from an upcoming film that he was supposed to star in alongside Jennifer Lopez, and he was also dropped from the cast of an upcoming Paramount Plus project about the making of The Godfather. Armie has also been dropped by his agency and his publicist as well. Because of the aftermath of this scandal and the investigations that this led to, I don't think anybody, never mind just Netflix, would be wanting to work with this actor. It will be very difficult for him to come back from all of this. At number 7, Gina Carano. Disney was hit with a minor scandal this year, and it involved one of their newer stars, Gina Carano. Known for her role in the Disney Plus series The Mandalorian, Gina became a fan favorite very quickly, that is until her tweets became an issue. This whole scandal came about after Gina tweeted a controversial message saying that being a Republican was similar to being Jewish during World War II, implying that Republicans are being persecuted in a way because of their political beliefs. This tweet angered a lot of fans, but it's not the first time that the actress had made headlines concerning her offensive tweets. She's also made anti-mask posts, and she's tweeted about the suspected voter fraud during the US presidential election. The people behind the making of The Mandalorian made the decision to fire Gina as a result, and her career was pretty much tanked. Her tweets caused her to lose a job working for one of the biggest companies in the industry, and this could affect her success in getting work from other big companies like Netflix. At number 6, Hartley Sawyer. Hartley Sawyer is one actor who might never come back to Hollywood after he got exposed for his incredibly offensive tweets back in 2020. Hartley, who was best known for having played Ralph Dibny, aka the elongated man on the CW's The Flash, faced a heck of a lot of backlash when many of his past tweets were brought to light. These tweets, which span as far back as 2009, highlight Hartley's poor attempts at humor, many of them including racist, sexist, homophobic, and even violent messages. These tweets were brought to light during the Black Lives Matter movement that saw a huge jump in support last summer, and as fans dug deep into many celebrities' lives, this was one of the biggest stories of a celebrity exposure to come out during that time. As a result of these offensive tweets, Hartley was fired from his role on The Flash and has been MIA from social media since issuing an apology for his actions. Because of the reputation that he has now for being offensive, combined with the fact that he's been out of Hollywood for so long, it might be safe to assume that if he does make a comeback to the industry, he probably won't be hired by anyone like Netflix. At number 5, Lea Michele. Lea Michele was exposed last year for her bad attitude, and she hasn't made a comeback since. Former Glee star Samantha Ware called the actress out for her rudeness among other negative things, and this brought on a wave of other accusations. People started coming forward to talk about their experiences working with Lea, and some recounted some instances of bullying, aggressiveness, and diva behavior. As a result, Lea lost her sponsorship with HelloFresh. In response to the allegations made against Lea, specifically for her alleged racial microaggressions and discriminatory actions, the company issued a statement saying that they would no longer be affiliated with the actress. This was just the first instance of Lea losing work over the scandal, but because there were so many horror stories that came out about her last year, producers as well as other people in the industry might now be a little hesitant to work with her because she's gained such a public reputation of being hard to work with. Since we haven't heard much from her since getting cancelled last year, we can assume that she hasn't really found much work since then, and certainly not from big companies like Netflix, because they wouldn't want to take a chance on someone who people are still kind of upset with. At number 4, Lori Loughlin. Actress Lori Loughlin has been fired by Netflix once before, so the chances of them wanting to work with her again are pretty slim. The actress faced a lot of drama last year as she was put on trial for exchanging bribes with college admissions in order to get her daughter into a good school. After pleading guilty to the charges against her, she was sent to jail to serve a 2-month sentence. Now that she's been released, she'll be hard-pressed to find work in the industry. Since the admission scandal, she's lost work, and as I mentioned, she's been dropped from the Full House reboot on Netflix, and some sources say that she's even been blacklisted from Hollywood. Whether or not this blacklisting really stands is yet to be known, but the bottom line here is that no one wants to hire her right now, especially Netflix. Being fresh out of the scandal, as she was released from jail in late December, it'll be a while before she can start finding work again. At number 3, Thora Birch. Thora Birch was once a rising star in Hollywood. From starring in Hocus Pocus to American Beauty, she was finding a lot of success in the industry, but due to a number of reported conflicts with several Hollywood executives, Thora hasn't really been finding the same level of success that she once was. Some say that she's even been blacklisted from Hollywood. Thora isn't solely to blame for her career troubles though, as it's believed that much of this has to do with Thora's father and the conflicts that he's been involved in, and had physically threatened other actors. Thora was also fired from her project Manson Girls after her father allegedly got into an argument with production. Between 2010 and 2018, Thora reportedly only booked 1 gig, and the actress has said that much of that has to do with her bad rep in the industry. She's also said that she's angered a lot of people over the years, so that could also be a reason why she's been fired from Hollywood. She isn't finding any work from big companies like Netflix, and probably won't for the foreseeable future. At number 2, Jussie Smollett. Former Empire actor Jussie Smollett found himself in a lot of trouble for a while following the scandal and subsequent backlash he faced after he was caught making false police statements about alleged hate crimes. In January 2019, Jussie claimed to have been attacked by a group of people wearing masks who put a rope around his neck and shouted an array of slurs at him. However, after a police investigation ensued, they found that the claim was fake. It was later discovered that Jussie made the whole thing up because he was unhappy with his salary from Empire and figured that he could get more after an event like the one that he fabricated. The charges laid against him for making this false report were eventually dropped, but similar charges emerged this year and Jussie was indicted. As a result of the scandal and legal issues, Jussie was promptly fired from Empire and has struggled to make things work for him in the industry since then. Some people wanted him to be blacklisted for what happened. Since then, Jussie hasn't really found much success after the scandal, and no one is really out here trying to take a chance on him over fears that he might pull a similar stunt on them, so networks like Paramount or Netflix aren't really out here trying to work with him. And finally, at number 1, Zooey Deschanel. Even though Zooey Deschanel is known to play fun, bubbly, and happy characters on TV and in films, her real-life personality is apparently far from nice. Turns out Zooey is actually pretty mean in real life, and she's hard to work with on set. People who have worked with the actress have said that she's got a really bad attitude on set, saying that she acts very stuck up and has a big ego. Others have said that she makes large demands, throws unnecessary tantrums about literally anything, and has a reputation for delaying shoots, but won't hesitate to go off on anyone else who makes demands or delays shoots. Basically, she's got a really bad attitude, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people think that she just doesn't get cast anymore, because nobody wants to work with her. This could be a reason why networks like Netflix don't want to hire her, because they don't want to have the hassle of dealing with a celebrity who's notoriously hard to work with.
And at number 10, post-Oscars flop. When Jennifer Lawrence was the highest paid actress in the world, she was the face of huge films like The Hunger Games and Silver Linings Playbook. But after she won an Oscar for her role in Silver Linings Playbook, her career has flatlined. Pretty much every movie that she's done since then has not taken off, and none of the films have gotten her much critical acclaim or commercial success. She even did a space movie called Passengers with Chris Pratt, and you'd think a movie with such huge stars would be a success, but again, it flopped and was widely disliked. After this, studios weren't willing to take the risk of having Jennifer be their leading lady anymore. And at number 9, she overshares. Jennifer shares relatable anecdotes all the time to appear relatable to her fans, but sometimes she overshares and it backfires. One of her worst scandals happened when she admitted that she disrespected the Hawaiian culture while filming The Hunger Games. Basically, Jen was filming in Hawaii, and in the movie she wears wetsuits a lot, which can get pretty itchy. So in 2016 on The Graham Norton Show, she admitted that she had scratched her butt on some sacred ceremonial rocks while filming in Hawaii. She said, quote, "There were sacred rocks, I don't know, they were ancestors, who knows? They were sacred, and you're not supposed to sit on them because you're not supposed to expose your genitalia to them. I, however, was in a wetsuit for this whole shoot. Oh my god, they were so good for butt itching." Apparently, she even moved the rocks so much that one came loose and started a landslide. The Hawaiian people thought it was a sign of a curse, but it was just Jen being disrespectful. After the backlash, she posted an apology to Facebook, but many did not buy it. And at number 8, Mother. The film Mother was supposed to be an artsy film to get Jen's career back on track, but it did the opposite. After having box office failures with huge movies, she decided to go back to her indie roots and work alongside her boyfriend at the time. The movie is a disturbing avant-garde horror film that gave her the space to be a dramatic actor, but after its release it was widely hated by audiences and critics alike. The whole plot of the movie was criticized, as well as Jennifer's performance. At the end of the day, it didn't get her career back on track, and it kinda confirmed that she was on the decline. And at number 7, public persona. After Jennifer became incredibly famous for her acting, her loud and goofy personality seemed to captivate the world, and it started to make her less believable as an actress. She was given the persona of a cool girl who would say whatever was on her mind, get drunk, and make risque jokes. And even though many loved it at first, the public started to get annoyed with it pretty fast. And pretty much anything she does now to seem quirky and relatable is criticized in the media, claiming she's just trying too hard. Even her infamous fall at the Oscars is deemed to be fake, and people think she concocted the whole thing for attention. All this isn't good if you're trying to act in serious roles, and most well-respected actors do their best to have as little media presence as possible. And at number 6, taking a break. Jennifer has not started a movie since 2018 and has taken a step back from the industry. She revealed why on the Absolutely Not podcast in October of 2020, saying, quote, "I realized that I needed to take some time." She explained, "I mean, we all felt that like everybody needed a break and the public needed a break from me. I needed a break." She revealed that she got wrapped up in the Hollywood machine when she took consecutive projects after she got her big break, adding, quote, "I realized that once you go into this machine, it just doesn't stop," adding that it feels like you need to take every opportunity presented to you until you're totally wrapped up in it. Finishing off that her career was taking on a life of its own, and she needed time to go off to make some changes. But in Hollywood, out of sight is out of mind, and she's in jeopardy of being forgotten about. Halfway at number 5, Hollywood enemies. Since Jennifer is so vocal and constantly covered in the media, she's gotten into some feuds over the years. One was with Anderson Cooper, who made some shady comments about her Oscars fall. When Jen was accepting her Oscar in 2013 for Best Actress, she fell while walking up to the stage. After the shocking fall, many weren't sure if it was real or just faked for attention. One of those people was CNN host Anderson Cooper. On a podcast, Lawrence spoke of how she saw Cooper talking about it a few days later, and she was hurt by his remarks that the fall could have been fake, saying, quote, "It was so devastating because it was this horrific humiliation to me that took away. I don't know if I'll ever have the chance to make a speech like that again. It didn't feel good for me not to have a speech." Apparently, Lawrence later confronted Cooper at a Christmas party, with a source saying she was really fired up while confronting him, but apparently they're all good now, and Anderson sincerely apologized for his statements. And at number 4, insensitive comments. Jennifer is known for her unfiltered comments, but in this day and age
stage that can get you in a lot of trouble, and she's constantly called out for her insensitive comments. The worst were her comments on Lindsay Lohan. While Jennifer Lawrence was on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert to promote a movie in 2015, Lawrence offended Lindsay Lohan and her family. It started when Lawrence was talking about how she got a stomach virus while filming, but she still kept shooting. Then she made the comment, quote, "I get like Lindsay Lohan grade exhaustion, but without any drugs or alcohol." And obviously, even though she was just joking, those kind of words will start a fight. Almost right after the show aired, Lohan's younger sister, Elena, tweeted out, quote, "I never breathe life into negativity, but I stand by my family. Disappointed in Jennifer Lawrence, not cool." Lindsay Lohan then replied to that tweet saying, quote, "Thank you, sister. Maybe who you're referring to should learn to support others like Maya Angelou." So it's clear Lindsay and Jen are not on good terms. And at number 3, crass. Along with being generally insensitive, Jennifer can also be very crass. Jen stirred up a lot of drama with reality star Lala Kent during her appearance on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. It started when Andy was asking Jennifer what she thought of the cast of Vanderpump Rules. When the conversation went to Lala, Lawrence straight up called her the C word, the see you next Tuesday word, along with tons of other digs at her. As a response, Lala tweeted out, quote, "Did Jennifer Lawrence really just call me the C word on Watch What Happens Live and talk about my mama? You better pray I don't see you in the streets." This was just the first of a long string of now deleted tweets. The shade did not stop there though. Lala then went on the Juicy Scoop podcast and called out Jennifer further. She said that Jennifer had 2 failed films in a row and said she was the type of girl who would sleep with Harvey Weinstein for a role. Lawrence never responded to the shade, but Lala still brings it up anytime she's asked about it. And at number 2, rude to fans. I'm sure it's annoying and even somewhat scary to get approached by fans when out in public, but most celebrities recognize that fans should be appreciated, but not Jennifer. She's actually admitted to being rude to fans when they come up to her, so they'll leave her alone. Jennifer says it's her way to defend herself against fans and paparazzi who might want too much from her. In an interview with Variety, she said, quote, "I just generally, once I enter a public place, I become incredibly rude. That's kind of like my only way of defending myself." Even adding that if she sees a fan coming to her table, she'll start wagging her finger and making a mean face. She also bluntly responds no when people ask her for selfies. And over time, fans aren't happy about this harsh attitude and will probably turn on her. And finally, number 1, unprofessional. Even though it looks easy, being an actress is a lot of work. Specifically learning lines and figuring out what you want to do with the lines before you even show up to film. But even though Jen is an Academy Award winner, she does not memorize her lines before showing up to set. Jen was speaking about this in an interview, saying, quote, "My friend was over and she was like, 'What scene are you doing tomorrow?' And I was like, I don't know, is that bad? Is there a point in my career where I should start learning my lines for work?" And she was like, "Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it." When asked another time about the fact that she doesn't memorize lines, she said, quote, "I look over the script, but I don't sit there memorizing. I read it, I know where I'm going, I know what it's about." Even adding, quote, "I do as little work as possible, definitely." Clearly this strategy has worked for her, but I can't imagine the other actors and the director don't appreciate that she's not following the script like they are.
At number 10, Roseanne Barr. Roseanne Barr had a pretty good thing going up until 2018. Prior to then, Roseanne was finding a lot of success in the Roseanne sitcom reboot on ABC and was getting ready to usher in a new season. But all of that success and hard work went out the window after the actress tweeted out an offensive tweet about Barack Obama's former senior advisor Valerie Jarrett, comparing her to an ape. As a result, Roseanne felt the wrath of Hollywood and had her show and career cancelled. Though she deleted the tweet and issued an apology for her actions, this couldn't save her career and she's since been reportedly blacklisted from Hollywood, so networks like Netflix probably wouldn't be too jazzed about working with her. The actress tried defending her actions by claiming that she thought Valerie Jarrett was white, but that excuse didn't really go over well, and made things a little bit worse for her instead. Roseanne has also gone on to say in interviews that Hollywood shunned her because of her political beliefs. At number 9, Stacey Dash. Known for her role as Dion in the 90s film Clueless, Stacey Dash had risen to fame in the 90s, but since then she's hit rock bottom and is no longer welcome in the entertainment industry. Nowadays, the actress is known for being quite outspoken when it comes to her political views, and this is what led Hollywood to lock her out, so to speak, and she hasn't been in the acting world for quite a while. Speaking out about her take on women's rights, Black History Month, segregation, and the quote-unquote bathroom bill, the actress has proven herself to be too much for even the likes of Fox News, which she used to be a part of. With that said, she probably wouldn't be welcomed by the likes of Netflix. Stacey would often come on air of Fox News to talk about whatever issues were being discussed, but in a turn of events, Fox News let her go for having gone too far with her words, especially in reference to the abolishment of Black History Month. Some people say that her extreme beliefs are what stopped Stacey from receiving any roles, and she said that she was dropped by her agent for being too problematic. Her views on gay and trans rights, as well as her opinion on race in Hollywood, have ultimately ended her career as an actress. Now before we continue talking about celebrities who Netflix would not want to work with, why not leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and maybe even consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Jim Caviezel. It's not always tweets and fights that get you banned from Hollywood. The roles you play and the productions that you're part of can also take a toll on your career, and this is what happened with actor Jim Caviezel, prompting Hollywood to shut him out as a result. Coming from some minor success in the 90s, Jim's defining moment came when he played Jesus Christ in Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ film. The movie itself was a financial success, but the media tore it apart, calling it too violent and very controversial. The R-rated film caught a lot of bad press and it was seen as anti-Semitic, and those who worked on the film had a hard time shaking that label, especially Jim. Apparently, before filming began, Mel Gibson warned Jim that he could potentially get shunned from Hollywood for this film, but he went ahead anyway, which, looking back on it now, probably wasn't the best career choice. Jim says that he has no regrets starring in the film, but he's no longer welcome in Hollywood, and as a result probably wouldn't be hired by anyone like Netflix. At number 7, Mel Gibson. Speaking of the Passion of the Christ though, Mel Gibson is someone who is notoriously hated in Hollywood for quite a number of reasons. He's no longer considered for any Hollywood roles and only seems to make an entrance into the industry when directing, since other studios don't want to work with him. He's been the subject of a number of controversies, from that of the Passions of the Christ for being anti-Semitic, to career-damaging freakouts, driving under the influence, and a number of people coming forward to discuss Mel's racist and anti-Semitic views. Though he continues to get cancelled in Hollywood, he attempts to make a return every so often, but again, only through his own work. He's been facing controversy for decades, and no one has really forgiven him, and he remains banned in Hollywood and essentially banned from all other media networks. At number 6, Ellen. After the insane year Ellen had last year, she came out of it with a pretty tarnished reputation. Because of the allegations made against her of poor workplace environment, including bullying and racial microaggressions, very few people trust or even want to work with her anymore, and I would imagine that also includes companies like Netflix. Though she did issue some apologies for some of her actions, it didn't seem to be enough, and her actions have left a bad taste. As a result of the scandal that unfolded, Ellen lost sponsors, guests, and audience members from her own show. This pretty much shows that the industry is starting to pull away from her because no one really wants to get close to her. If she was in better standings in the industry, she could have struck a deal with Netflix to keep her career afloat, but it doesn't look like that would happen. At number 5, Marilyn Manson. Singer Marilyn Manson faced a humongous scandal this year after actress Evan Rachel Wood came forward in February this year, naming Manson as the person who caused her mental, physical, and emotional distress while in a relationship. She released a statement to her Instagram calling Manson out and also saying that she was, quote, brainwashed and manipulated into submission by him. In the past, Manson has faced similar accusations, but this one from Evan was the one to end his career. As a result of this, the singer was dropped by his manager and record label, and they were also called out for having enabled him the whole time this abuse was going on, and for trying to cover these scandals up in the past. Because of all this bad press and his severely tarnished reputation, I couldn't imagine anyone in Hollywood wanting to work with him. Lately, Netflix has been doing documentaries on singers and their lives, but Manson is certainly one star that they would not want to talk about. At number 4, Chris Harrison. The Bachelor/Bachelorette is one of the hottest reality shows on the planet. The show's host, Chris Harrison, has been with the show since 2002, but his time with Bachelor Nation has come to an end after a scandal that completely ended his hosting career. After old photos resurfaced of one of the Bachelor contestants at an antebellum-themed sorority party, as well as Confederate TikToks, there was a call to seek accountability from said contestant. When asked about it in an interview, Chris went on to seemingly defend this contestant when he said, quote, "We all need to have a little grace, a little understanding, a little compassion. Because I've seen some stuff online, this judge, jury, executioner thing, I haven't heard Rachel speak on this yet. Until I actually hear this woman have a chance to speak, who am I to say any of this?" End quote. People found his comments to be offensive and insensitive, saying that he was too quick to defend this contestant's actions. After all this drama, it was announced that he was leaving the show, and he's not been welcomed back. Maybe if things were different, Chris could have found a job working as a host for one of Netflix's many dating reality shows, but instead this scandal ruined his chances. At number 3, James Franco. Back in 2014, actor James Franco got into a scandal after he tried sliding into a fan's DMs, only to find out that she was actually 17 years old. This happened when James met a girl visiting New York City as an early 18th birthday present. James met her at an autograph signing outside of one of his Broadway shows. The two took pictures together and she tagged him, which obviously led to to him finding her Instagram and DMing her. The two talked for a bit, and the fan even asked to see his ID to make sure it was really him. After their conversation continued, James asked for her number, her age, her relationship status, and whether or not he should have booked a hotel room for the both of them. Luckily, nothing ever ended up happening between them, but the fan ended up exposing their conversation online, and James faced mild backlash. After that and some other scandals he's been in, a lot of people don't want to work with James, and that could potentially include companies like Netflix as well. At number 2, Bella Thorne. Bella Thorne is no stranger to bad press. She's been facing backlash since she was a Disney star, and really things have just escalated since then. Because she's viewed by many as a problematic celebrity, Hollywood, specifically companies like Netflix, may be hesitant to hire her for upcoming projects just because of how people view her. In the last year or so, Bella has been in the news for a number of scandals. Bella has faced backlash for her OnlyFans scam, where she scammed her fans into paying upwards of $200 for content that they weren't happy with, and it even prompted a company policy change that affected other creators on the platform. She was also involved in some Twitter beef with her ex Tana Mojo because she released a diss track about her, and earlier this year, Bella faced even more backlash as she publicly defended Armie Hammer and the whole scandal that the actor was caught in. Bella has a way of rubbing people the wrong way, and since she's faced so much backlash just in the last year alone, I feel like Netflix might pass her over for a little while. And finally, at number 1, Tyra Banks. Tyra Banks is actually a lot more controversial than you might think. Not too long ago, she faced backlash for her time on America's Next Top Model. Old photos and episodes re-emerged, which showed the types of photos that contestants were forced to take, including ones with the models in blackface. This made people take another look at the show's past, and it dug up more dirt on the way that Tyra used to treat her contestants as well. For a long time after the show, past contestants have been outspoken about the way that they were treated on the show and how their narratives were spun to make them look more susceptible to hate. Not too long ago, one of the models from Cycle 6, Lisa D'Amato, called Tyra out for how she used her past traumas against her and how she endured verbal, mental, and physical turmoil while working with Tyra. Now that all this has come out about her past, Hollywood might be staying away from Tyra, and her latest gig of hosting Dancing with the Stars might be all she's got to hold on to now that the world knows about what she's like behind the scenes, and since no one else will work with her. Maybe she could have started another fashion-related show on Netflix, but because of her reputation, the network probably would have passed on that. At number 10, Britney controversy. When the drama surrounding Britney Spears and her conservatorship was at its height, everyone seemed to want to put their 2 cents in and contribute to the conversation and the criticisms being thrown towards Britney's family, especially her father. Talk show host Wendy Williams was one of the many people who shared their opinion on the matter and took things one step further and made her comments about the situation on air of her show. She was discussing Britney's ongoing court battle with her audience when she made comments about how Britney's parents had the public fooled into thinking that they were doing what was best for the pop star. After learning more information as to what was really going on in that situation, we found out that things were much more rocky than we once thought, and because this was so unfair to Britney, this got Wendy pretty heated because she followed up her criticisms of the Spears family by saying, quote, "Death to them all," end quote. This comment went just a little bit too far for people's liking, and Wendy faced a lot of backlash for it. The comment ultimately had to be edited out of the show, and there were a handful of people demanding that Wendy apologize to Britney's family for what she said. Wendy ended up getting a lot of bad press for the weeks following the incident, and as we all know by now, for a celebrity, bad press is a very dangerous thing to have, which may have just added to the list of reasons why Hollywood might not like the TV personality. At number 9, gender roles. Now this one ended up getting 2 people in trouble, but since Wendy was one of those who faced backlash for the comments they made, I'm including it on this list. Earlier this year, a clip resurfaced of an interview that Wendy had with Marvel actor Anthony Mackie, and things got messy. In the clip, Wendy and Anthony were discussing their views on gender roles in relationships. Wendy and Anthony both said that they believe in traditional gender roles, which is to say that they believe that a man is supposed to do the hard labor and the woman is supposed to cook and clean and provide for her husband. Like an archaic kind of partnership. This isn't the most popular opinion these days, which is why when these two spoke out about it in the interview, people got upset. Most of the heat was on Anthony Mackie because he said that his woman's job is to, quote, "make daddy a sandwich," and as you could imagine, that did not go over very well with the audience, but the fact that Wendy agreed and didn't try to shut down Anthony's comments is why she also faced some scrutiny. These types of opinions, like I said, are pretty unpopular, so this could be another reason why Wendy isn't very well liked in Hollywood. Now before I carry on talking about why Hollywood might not like Wendy Williams very much, I would first like to ask you guys to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and also maybe subscribe to the channel if you want to keep seeing more videos like this one. At number 8, shading Lizzo. I'm a strong believer in letting people wear whatever makes them happy. I don't think that certain people should have to miss out on wearing what they want and expressing themselves through fashion for anything or anyone. But no matter what, there will always be people ready to shade and shame people for what they wear, and that includes Wendy Williams, who back in 2019 shamed Lizzo for what she wore to a basketball game. During a segment on her show, Wendy made a number of comments on the thong dress that the singer wore to a Lakers game. In one part of the segment, the TV host said, quote, "Lizzo has a really good career right now, so I understand her happiness, but in all actuality, you see the thong, right? That's not a dress that she pulled up, that's a dress that has a cutout going on, which means she was sitting booty down on the seat, booty down in the car, she was walking booty exposed into the theater," end quote. Wendy also commented on the fact that she was surprised that the singer wasn't stopped by security for the way that she was dressed. Wendy wasn't the only person to make a comment about the dress. In fact, that dress was a hot topic for a while, but Lizzo was unfazed. Those who did have a problem with the commentary that was made about the dress were the singer's fans, who really went in on Wendy, calling her out for being rude and going too far with her comments. At number 7, Wendy versus Nicki Minaj. When Wendy Williams sees something that she thinks is off or even remotely controversial, you know that she's going to talk about it on her show. It's kind of just a given at this point. On one of her Hot Topic segments, Wendy went off about Nicki Minaj, her husband Kenneth Perry, and his controversial past. Because of Kenneth's past offenses, Wendy called him names that I am not allowed to repeat for YouTube purposes, but it did kind of go too far for Nicki because she was quick to clap back in order to defend her man. After seeing a clip of what Wendy said about her husband, Nicki shared her thoughts on the matter in an interview a short time later where she said, quote, "It's not about doing your job. There are people who report the news, and there are people who do it with an evil intent in their heart. Viciousness. And I pray for you because I know you're hurting. I know you must be sick and humiliated," end quote. She continued to go off on Wendy in the interview, but I think we get the point. That commentary from Wendy definitely crossed the line, and now she has an enemy in Hollywood, which is definitely not good. At number 6, parenting advice. Keeping with the theme of Wendy putting her 2 cents in and getting in trouble for it, let's talk about her commentary on Brad Pitt and his relationship with his son Maddox. In 2019, rumors surfaced that Brad and his son Maddox were having a rough time after it was alleged that there was some kind of altercation between the two of them. It was said that Maddox was no longer speaking to his father, and Wendy decided to share some advice with Brad on how to talk to his son. During a segment on her show, Wendy shared her advice where she said, quote, "I don't know whether Brad has tried to reach out to this boy. I must say that he might be blocked on Maddox's phone, but Brad can fly to Korea and squat outside the dorm. I mean, there are things that parents can do, particularly if you have endless amounts of money. If you want to reconnect with this boy, then leave Angelina out of it and you go over there and you basically just stalk him in the name of love," end quote. People thought that her comments were a little unnecessary and a bit insensitive based on the information about the altercation that caused the rift between Brad and Maddox. Do you think that her comments were uncalled for? Let me know down in the comments. At number 5, vocal coach. This next story I'm gonna tell you says a lot about Wendy Williams and what people actually think about her. Back in February 2018, Wendy made some comments about Beyonce and her singing the national anthem at the Super Bowl, and one of the articles that talked about this incident was titled, quote, "Wendy Williams proves she's learned nothing, attacks our Lord and Savior Beyonce's singing ability," end quote. The fact that the title says proves that she's learned nothing kind of shows that the TV host has been clocked for this behavior before, and Hollywood has had enough with her attitude, so to speak. Basically, the story here is that during one of her segments, Wendy talked about Beyonce and a number of other singers' vocal abilities, saying that they all needed auto-tune. As you could imagine, fans of the singers that were named were not happy with the comments that Wendy made, and she faced some hate on Twitter. I just thought that the response plus the headline really showed what people think of Wendy and how unimpressed they are with her at this point. At number 4, beef with Tupac. Apparently, the late Tupac Shakur had beef with Wendy Williams, and I had no idea about it. This beef was messy, and in 2016, radio host Angie Martinez shared a transcript in her memoir from an interview that she had with the rapper, who explained why he had bad blood with Wendy. In the transcript, Tupac explained that he had beef with Wendy after she told people that he had been violated in jail. Apart from this interview, Tupac also went in on his beef with Wendy in his diss track Why You Turn On Me, but Wendy didn't really take much offense to what he said on the track. Instead, she saw it as free clout, which I mean is definitely one way of looking at things, I suppose. At number 3, Method Man. By now, we are all aware that Wendy Williams is very outspoken. I mean, she's not known to hold anything back, and apparently that also includes other people's secrets. Back in 2006, rapper Method Man called Wendy out for having exposed his wife's cancer diagnosis to the world on her radio show. When speaking out about the situation, the rapper said that at the time when Wendy exposed that big news, his wife hadn't even told all of her family members yet. He said that when he heard Wendy come on the air and say whatever about his wife, he was so mad that he, quote, started crying right there, end quote. It certainly isn't fair that Wendy did something like that, and that's a good way to get people to hate you real quick, and obviously in Hollywood, that is never a good thing. At number 2, a Lea biopic. Back in 2014, Wendy Williams made a movie. It was a biopic about the late Aaliyah, and it faced heaps of backlash when it was released. Between the backlash from the movie's casting choices to the content of the film, and even the fact that Aaliyah's family didn't even want the movie to be made in the first place, there was just a lot of negativity surrounding that movie. There were concerns that the film romanticized certain relationships, and if you know anything about Aaliyah, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. On top of that, there was also the concern that the way some of the painful stories told in the film were distasteful. Making a film and having it face that much negativity is certainly not a good thing, especially where your place in Hollywood is concerned. As the executive producer for the film, Wendy faced a lot of criticisms, but as she normally does, she just brushed it off. And finally, at number 1, transphobic comment. There have been many times when Wendy has said something incredibly offensive. I mean, I covered a lot of that on this list, but one of the top rudest things that she said in recent years has to be the comment that she made about Caitlyn Jenner. Back in 2016, Cosmopolitan released an issue with the Kardashians on the cover. Wendy saw the cover and pointed out that, quote, it features all the Kardashian women, end quote. She could have just left the comment there, but she just had to take it one step further and say, quote, no, not Caitlyn. Caitlyn still has a member, end quote. Wendy ended up cracking up at her own joke and got others to laugh along with her at the transphobic comment that she made. There was really no reason for her to say something like that at all. These days, when you get clocked for something offensive like that can definitely damage your career severely, and that seems to be the case here with Wendy since Hollywood doesn't want to hire her. Now, before I wrap things up for today, I want you guys to let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are on Wendy Williams. Do you like her, hate her, or could you care less? I want to know all about it down in the comments. Anyways, that's it for me. I've been your host, Brie Room, and until next time, stay safe, make good choices, and stay groovy, friends.